Hi people, this is New Sensei. I'm getting a little addicted to live streaming, so I thought today we'd share something a little small. Again, this is a sort of thing which I would normally like to do a video for, but given that it's a fairly minor thing and a bit of a curiosity, I thought I'd live stream this one, and therefore some of you might join in. You might have some interesting comments to share, as well as some general questions which I'll go through later. It is currently 9:47 p.m. in Melbourne, and hopefully I'll be catching a few of you guys in Europe, and I think some of you in the US might be around this time. So the topic for today, as you've probably figured out from the title, is that we talk about zombie targets. Now, I've talked about zombies in the past, particularly zombie preppers, and that's an interesting thing in itself. But I was recently sent a memo from Archery Australia. I'm still on the mailing list. I haven't disconnected myself from my presidential duties just yet. But there was a memo sent around to all the archery clubs and presidents regarding the use of zombie targets. Now, of course, being the Halloween season, some clubs will want to organize special events and shoots which involve zombie targets. And there's actually, believe it or not, some rules against that. So I'm going to Byron's mentioned this. Yeah, it seems weird from Archery Australia, but there's a good point here because there is a particular um, ethical and standard guideline which I'll discuss because a lot of people don't read this, and especially like, as a club president, I actually wasn't aware of this. I should be, but these things sometimes go under the radar. So I want to talk about what this policy is. And again, this is only for Archery Australia. This does concern international archery organizations or your national archery organization, unless you happen to have the same sort of rule. This also does concern any other Australian archery organization, unless they have their own set of rules. Because there's some interesting things here. And yeah, I think some of you already figured out that it's mostly about not shooting at human shaped targets. So I'm going to open up the link to the ethical and standards guideline from Archery Australia. So I'll switch over the window right about now. There we go. So, what we see here is the ethical practices and standards document from Archery Australia as of March 2014. So, it's a short document, and we'll read through it because, again, as a club, you might want to be aware of certain standards. So, here we go. Archery Australia is committed to providing a safe and friendly environment while at the same time delivering an image of the sport that represents the long history of archery while meeting community expectations. We are aware that the behaviour of individuals and practice of organisations that make up Archery Australia must at all times meet community expectations. This document details the ethical practices and standards that will be exhibited at all times by all involved with Archery Australia and activities. Competitions and club activities. Dress requirements. As members of the sport, we are under the eye of the public at all times. As such, the dress standard detailed in the Archery Australia shooting rules and the subsequent RGB and club rules and policies should be adhered to at all times. Now, I don't have the actual policy available to me right now. I can look it up later. But what the policy involves is basically in the shooting rules, it specifies what kind of clothing you're meant to wear. Now, in the current constitution or the shooting rules of Archery Australia, you are either wearing your club uniform or appropriate archery merchandise, such as your professional shooting shirt or whatever, or archery whites. Now, archery whites used to be a thing decades ago because archery had a bit of a gentrified attitude. Unlike bow hunting, which is a field thing, target archery target archery worldwide, and especially in Australia, had a similar background to golf. So just as you would wear like golf whites or tennis whites, archery also had whites or cricket whites. So a white shirt, white slacks, or white trousers was the normal white dress or white skirt for women. So that was the normal thing. Now it's still codified in the rules. Most people don't follow the dress white. People turn up in t-shirts and jeans and so on. That's fairly normal. But in competitions, you're expected to wear something resembling archery attire. So again, a shooting shirt, like a polo top. And this is where the no camouflage rule comes in. Many clubs don't enforce this, but in a formal competition, you may be picked up for wearing things like what I'm wearing right now, if you can see me. Camouflage equipment is allowed in the Archery Australia rules. That was clarified, and because I think this is where the Archery Australia rules make sense, because a lot of equipment, camouflage equipment, is a little cheaper. They do allow camouflage bows at competitions under Australian rules. If you're shooting under World Archery rules, then you're not going to get that. But in Australian rules, it's okay. But clothing, it's where things draw the line. If you turn up with a full army's uniform, then that's not going to look well for the sport, and you'll probably be told off for that. But yeah, that the section on dress requirements for competition is fairly clear there. Now, the next part is where things get more interesting, the targets. So all tournaments and club activities, standard target faces should be used. For target and indoor, standard, I wish there were more commas here. I'm not sure who wrote the policy, but it's an English teacher. I look for commas. But anyway, for target and indoor standard, five color target faces. It needs, sorry, this is my English teacher side here. There should be a comma for target indoor, comma, standard 5, hyphen, color target faces, or recognized variants, and what? Or recognized variants, and for field standard, this is really badly written. I know what it said. So basically, when you're shooting outdoor, indoor targets, then you use the standard FITA 5 target. That's the gold to a white target face you always see. That's what you're supposed to use for club events and competitions. Wow, that was a really wonky sentence. So where was I? Yeah, so the other thing to note is for 3D archery or the shooting of animal images. Alright, so 3D archery is a thing. So you can get target faces with animal prints, or you can actually get 3D targets, which are the foam targets, which is used for 3D archery. Now, the thing to keep in mind for Australia is that Archery Australia is exclusively the target style archery. It also includes field, and it also includes clout. But it does not include 3D archery. 3D archery is a separate classification and discipline. In Australia, that is run under the 3D Archery Association of Australia, or the 3D AAA. So they have their own organization and their own rules. So target clubs, so Archery Australia clubs are not, there is no 3D archery formal competition. Clubs are free to run 3D shoots as they see appropriate. So this is the point here. So while AA does not openly engage in these events, this is understandable. Again, you're having a family-friendly public sporting image. You don't want to have an official policy where you're allowed to shoot animals. But for 3D archery, there's a provision here which says a club may run 3D events, but use appropriate targets for this sort of thing. Interestingly, AA discourages the use of Australian native animals as 3D targets or printed targets. Only feral animal 3D targets or printed targets should be used. That includes dinosaurs, I guess. Now, this is the thing where this line here I'll get to later. But for special activities such as demonstration or social activities, the organisers, good grief, this is an official policy, may use targets as they see fit, such as a dart target, wand, not sure what that is, etc. but there should be a full stop here, full comma. But the use of targets that depict human figures, human effigies, humanoids, or used to be human silhouettes, or any human images are not permitted. This is the kicker. All right, so there are no human images allowed to be used. So you cannot have an outline of a person. You can't have a silhouette of a person, and by extension, you can't have zombies, because zombies are humanoid. And by the way, that also means that you can't put up a poster of Justin Bieber and shoot at him. That also goes against Archery Australia policies and guidelines. And interestingly, the shooting of apples off a human head and human head representation is not permitted. That's a very interesting thing. I guess you don't want to encourage people to do stupid things like actually shoot apples off other people. So you can't simulate shooting an apple off someone's head. That is very interesting. That was what was sent to us just the other day. This is a reminder: you can't use zombie targets or human-like targets. And this is for AA clubs. This provision goes towards hunting. Again, archery aminals. I don't mean to rip apart the policy, but this is a fairly recent policy. It's only, 2 pages? Not even the blank page in the front cover. It's 2 pages, and that's horrible. Wow. No, I've lost my train of thought here. So the hunting of aminals, not to confuse with animals. Being serious though, Archery Australia does not condone hunting because it's a target sport, not a hunting organisation. Again, in Australia, hunting is under the Australian Bow Hunting Association, or ABA. So in Australia, there are 3 organisations. There's AA. There's 3D AAA, and there's ABA. Those are the big 3. There are other associations. There's the National Archery Association. I think it's NFAA, or no, that's National Field. There is an archery association which is not affiliated with Australia. It's kind of like the rogue organisation, or the alternate organisation. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I know some of you guys are involved with this. Sorry about that. But yeah, the main 3 official ones are ABA, AA, and 3D AAA. So AA has no hunting policy. So if you want to hunt, then you have to follow the ABA code of ethics. So it makes it clear here that you should listen to ABA. And finally, shooting arrows. This is also interesting. So AA has a very excellent, very good safety record, and it provides a positive public image. So there are very strict rules regarding the shooting of arrows. We do not support or encourage any activity that involves the shooting of arrows at other participants, even if the activity involves equipment specifically designed for the purpose. This is archery tag. Okay, so under AA rules, clubs cannot undertake archery tag. Now, if you're wondering, hang on, there are archery tag places in Australia. Yes, you can have private businesses. Okay, this is the thing with archery clubs or archery ranges. So you don't have to be affiliated with Archery Australia to open an archery range. Many ranges are private businesses, so they can operate under whatever rules they want. They don't, as long as they have insurance, they can run whatever they want. Archery Australia provides insurance to its affiliate clubs, but if you're not an affiliated club, then you do whatever you want. That means the places which do run archery tag are basically running a private business, so they can do that under their own rules. So that's not a limitation to other places. So this is AA only. So again, you can't have archery tag. These activities include reenactments, so no LARPing, I guess. No LARPing, no role plays, no commercial activities which involve shooting each other similar to paintball. And again, I think archery tag is exactly the sort of thing, and LARPing as well, that this probably covers. So a club cannot host a LARP event or an archery tag event. Now, if the club wants to take the members and go to archery tag somewhere else, sure, that's fine. But the club itself cannot run these things. So that's the policy. There are quite a few mistakes. That's really sloppy. I mean, I wrote a 40-page document that was professionally proofread, and there were no mistakes. And this is 2 pages, and there's like 5. Anyway, that's on my English teacher side. But yeah, that's the policy. I wasn't exactly aware of this, so the memo that was sent around to all AA members made us aware of this particular document, and it was interesting to note some of those things. So the human targets, which makes sense. I understand a lot of ranges do not include human figures, shooting ranges and archery ranges, and that makes sense. But also the other things like not shooting apples, or the animal restrictions, and the shooting at each other, which makes sense. That sort of thing. Yeah, it's kind of like common sense, but a lot of people don't actually know about it. So. That was all sent around. Interesting. So if you have an opinion or comment, feel free to post in the chat, or post in the comments below. But that's what I wanted to share. Again, just some of the small things, which was quite interesting. So anyway, this was meant to be a short video. I was planning doing something else. I was planning to do some quizzes or have some fun with you guys. I might save that for a different time. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask. To make it easy for me, feel free to tag my name, New Sensei, so I can easily spot your name in your chat. Otherwise, I might miss your question. I'll scroll up very briefly, and I'll say hi to a few people. Pacific Hunter, yes, I've noticed you before. Let's see. Let's see. What's news? What's news here? Hi, Scape Nation, welcome back. If you joined me last night. You bought a £10 biter clicker from Merlin Archery. What's the difference between clickers? That's a good question. I don't review clickers because it's such a simple piece of equipment that's not worth reviewing. It's basically an aluminium strip or a carbon strip, or there are some different models which I might spotlight at some point. But basically, all the clickers are the same. There's no functional difference between clickers, so you can get whatever clicker you want. Some are carbon, some are aluminium, so they might feel different or snap differently. You might want a particular sound, but for the most part, clickers are clickers. You can buy a $5 cartel clicker or a $30 carbon clicker from Win & Win. Same difference. There's nothing there. But yeah, I remember, I think it was you last night that asked a question about should I use a clicker, because the coach or the instructor at your range said it was too much of a hassle with terrible fletchings. And I'll stand by my opinion. That's a very big exaggeration. It's not a hassle. A clicker is no different to a sight. It's an additional accessory which, for the purpose of shooting freestyle, is something encouraged, that is allowed and encouraged. So it's like saying, in my opinion, a sight is more of a hassle than a clicker. All right. If your coach is okay with using a sight, then there's no reason why you can't use a clicker. Okay. The sight basically gives you consistency, same as a clicker. The sight can screw people over because a lot of new archers don't know how to use the sight. They'll play around with the sight every single shot. They'll lose sight of the sight picture. The shooting becomes more erratic because they don't know how to use it. So being complex is not a reason why you shouldn't use a piece of equipment. You learn to use it correctly, so you develop good form and good habits sooner. So a clicker usage, as soon as you get comfortable using one, start using it. A lot of people will use the clicker to acquire draw length consistency. You don't require a consistent draw length to use it. It will show you what needs to be done for your draw length. So good luck with your clicker. Yeah, like Shamoya, yeah, I'm looking at some of the comments here. Yeah, like the policy is strangely written. I'm not sure who wrote it, but oh man, that's that it's poorly worded. I've seen far better. That's an interesting. I had a lot of trouble reading through it, but it's interesting. Let's see. Going through, I'm looking through more stuff. So I just lost track of my thing there. Pacific Hunter, you're Brian, aren't you? I don't accept personal invites on Facebook. Unless I know you personally, there's no reason to re-add me. Follow me on my New Sensei page. there's nothing interesting in my life which is worth reporting. If you want to follow my actual stuff, look at my official page. All you see are like mental health posts and pics of cats or something. I mean, my personal page is nearly dead because hardly anyone follows me in real life. I imagine you guys are like fictional characters, which are just adding numbers on my my page. Yeah, don't worry about it too much. Um, Back Soul Villa. If I could buy a life-sized doll of Pauline Hanson, not sure why you want to do that. Could you shoot in your backyard? What you do in your own house is up to you. There's no restriction there. Um, let's see. Review. Who's standing behind me? No one. There's no behind me. I'm not sure what you're talking about. But nice try scaring me though. Crunchy Noodle 321. You should review the Bear Paw products. I haven't used Bear Paw products. Again, I did. One of the things is for product reviews, I often get sent things. So if someone wants to send me things to review, I'm happy to do so. I don't buy things I don't need. So it's kind of like my justification is if I want to use it, I'll buy it and I'll spend it. Otherwise, I'll borrow it or someone can send me something and I'll have a look. I do currently have the Legend Archery Atoms case. Wonderful case. It's a new release this year. And Legend Archery reached out to me to review it, so I've got that boxed up right now. I'm going to review it at some point. Speaking of reviews, I am planning to do a review of the Fairweather finger tab, and I currently have a K riser. I can't remember which one it was. The K3. I can't remember. It was the carbon riser. Interesting history of that one, but I've got one with me right now. I might be doing it tomorrow. Courtney, can I give advance notice? I actually don't plan these live streams. I do want to have. I want to keep the monthly Q&A going. That'll be announced in advance. I might do a mid-month kind of casual Q&A, but this sort of thing, I'm just experimenting with the camera and the microphone and OBS. So I'm just having some fun and practicing with the live stream. So this is a casual thing. I don't expect people to actually watch this. The topic was there. Thought I'd cover these small things. Anderson Lung, am I Japanese? No. The word sensei simply means teacher. That reflects my actual job. So it's recognizable. People know what it means. So that's why I use it. Chris Bowling, in response to my comment, I believe you said this around 6 times, six different places. I think you were asking about the bows. You might want to repeat the question. I have like 7 copies of it, but that's kind of what it was right now because I just there are other things in my mind. I might look it up a bit later and I'll respond to it, but I can't remember right now. Shinji33. I've always been interested in archery, but I've never tried starting. I recently found the channel. That's cool. Yeah, nice. Enjoy your shoot this Saturday. It's gonna be fun. Like your first session will be like just have fun for your first session. Don't worry about being too accurate or too skilled. Just have fun. But as you get the hunger to come back, that's when you start paying serious attention to how to shoot properly. Mr. High Volt. My son is 9 years old but only 5 foot tall. His draw length is around 21 inch. He's shooting for around a year now. Are there any short risers out there for Olympic style? Not really. If you're gonna shoot Olympic style, I mean, like you might want to get a youth bow. You can get like the like metal youth bows. Can't remember what brands sell small sizes. But for actual Olympic bows, there are very few which come in a size for a 9-year-old. You can find them, but I don't know. I've seen one kid in my club have one. I can't name any though because it's kind of obscure brand which you can't find anymore. But you can find them. But it's kind of hard to. Escape Nation, the clickers, it's mostly the size and length of the clicker. There's no real difference. Pacific Hunter. How long have I been doing archery? 6 years now. On and off, I guess. I mean, I've been in archery for 6 years. As for actual shooting, competing, not so much. That's been again because I've been doing instructing, coaching, and being the club president. That's kind of taken a large chunk of my time. So I haven't really. I can't really say I have 6 years of experience of shooting, but I do have 6 years of archery experience. Do I hunt? No, I don't hunt. Can I stream more often? I would like to. The only thing is, again, like I would like to have a topic to talk about and then do Q&As at some point. But as fun as this does take time, and I should be doing other things right now. Anderson Lung again. Any interest in compound bows? Yeah, I'm interested. It's not the number one thing in my mind. The main reason why I don't go straight to compound is because I like the physicality of recurve. I mean, today I did a 1 hour session at the club, and I'm feeling it, man. I haven't shot well for months, and I am in pain because shooting a 40-pound recurve when you're on and off is challenging for someone of my fitness level and body type. I'm a small guy. I'm a very small frame guy. So 40 pound is pushing it. And when you don't maintain your routine, it's hard. I mean, I've got a 144 arrow round coming up on my club, and I can't shoot 40 arrows, let alone 140 arrows. So that's a little tough there. But I'm getting there. Compound, I think. I mean, I could become good at it, but I'm not sure if I would enjoy it. Like, I don't feel the same satisfaction with the shot of a compound than I do with a recurve. Chroma, what's your experience with compound bows? I said so. I mean, I've touched one. I don't mind coaching compound shooters. There's not much difference from compound and recurve. A lot of the mistakes are the same fundamental errors as recurve, apart from a few specific things, and most of it's technical. So as long as you can tinker around with your bow, you're okay. But like I said, it's not my sort of thing. I'm not too interested. Soul Villa, will you be checking out Grizzly Strings? I believe I answered this question yesterday. I have Grizzly Strings. The things that I don't have trad bows apart from Jim's actual bow. I mean, once he had some time and I actually asked for it, he'll send me a string. But yeah, should I check it out? I guess I'm not gonna buy one because I already have strings. But why not really? Like you go for like reliable, popular brands and quality, and Grizzly Gym and Grizzly Strings is quality. That's guaranteed. Fabian, I sometimes get right flies as a right-handed shooter. What is a common mistake that I could make? If you're flinging arrows to the right as a right-handed shooter, one possibility is that you are collapsing on your shot. So let's see if I have room here. So normally you would have this position here where you expand through the shot. If you collapse, so if you find yourself being pulled back by the bow, you might find yourself plucking the string to pull through. So you might be collapsing, so you swing to the right, or you might be plucking the string, which flicks it off the right. You give it an unintentional arc to the right. So it's often a release problem, a back tension problem, but it's one of those two usually. If it's consistent, then it's a spine problem, but if it's an occasional thing, then it's most likely going to be a thing for your release or your back tension. Daniel Dunn, how much can overbowing hinder growing archers, specifically 16 to 21-year-olds? I'm very passionate about this. Picking a weight that is too high for a starter, especially a youth archer, will destroy their career. I'm deadly serious. And look, as an adult, as someone shooting a 40-pound bow, that may be too high for me. And that might be what's stopping me from shooting at competition because I can't physically handle it. It's a very, very bad choice. We keep on saying start low. Err towards the lower side because you can always grow into it and advance. You start too high, you will never acquire good form. Especially if you're shooting freestyle recurve with the sight and with the clicker, because you need supremely fine muscle control, and you can't do that if you can barely pull the bow back. You see a lot of young kids who shoot compound get gung-ho about their 45-pound draw weight, because for compound, you can just yank it back and you're at full draw because you have the let off. But if you are shooting recurve, you can barely pull it back. And if you can pull it back, then you can't shoot it well. So you've got to be conservative when choosing a draw weight for a young adult or a teenager. It is so bad. And right away, if you give them a 20-pound set of limbs, they'll shoot beautifully. But you give them a 25-pound set of limbs, they'll struggle to shoot even one shot correctly. So be conservative. Some people will buy a higher draw weight for economic reasons, so they can't afford to replace the limbs. But you can always sell limbs. If you're in a club, there is always someone who needs low draw weight limbs, so you can always lend it to somebody else or sell it. So it's not hard to get rid of limbs. But yeah, I think I would consider it to be a big deal for someone who is overbowed and learning. If you're already a decent archer and you're overbowed, you can grow into it. But if you're completely new, that gives you a very high risk of never learning to shoot well, especially if you're self-taught as well. Very painful thing to have to undo. Okay, just going through the list again. And I think chap's kind of jumping around. Escape Nation, how many competitions have I won? I don't compete really. Apart from my club competitions, which I don't really even do well anymore. I don't really compete. I haven't really won anything. I won the only thing I've actually won is my very first club championship, because we restarted it back when I was at the club in my second year, and I outshot a compound shooter. But this was when the club was very young. I mean, the members were like very inexperienced, and since then I haven't really done much. I'm like the last recurve shooter standing, so I've lost my form to the point where the other recurve shooters are catching up. I can hold my own in my club, but I definitely don't stand up against inter-club competitions. Furthest distance, 70 meters. It's my it's the standard distance now. That's why I shoot. I don't like shooting because I don't have experience, especially club shut down. Haven't had time to do much training. But that I normally shoot at say 40 to 70 as my practice and comp. Okay, same question from Scape Nation. You have that really crappy Cartel carbon stabilizer, which normally comes with the starter kits. When should you upgrade? When you have money to spare. The stabilizer is the least important part of your archery kit. I'd rather you spend money on a good sight or good arrows or a limb upgrade rather than stabilizers. You don't need expensive stabilizers unless you want a luxury buy or you want full customization, because the cheap stabilizers like the Cartel ones, you can't put much weight on the end, whereas the high end ones from like Win and Win or Doinker, they have more weight adjustment and have more options for dampeners. So it's a luxury thing. It's not going to affect you shooting that much as a beginner, but once you have some extra money, then let's go for it. Kiki, I have a friend who wants to continue archery, but he has overbending joints, and his last kill gave him a way too heavy a bow. Can he start a game with a lot? Yes. Like again, big mistake in clubs is giving someone a bow that is too heavy. You definitely want to start light, and we've given adult shooters 15-pound bows because they have no upper body strength. So yeah, start as light as possible, and you'll find yourself enjoying archery. Catherine Morton, have I shot bear bow much recently? Not so much. It's my fun bow. The thing is that with me and bear bows, that I normally would not bring my bear bows to the club to shoot because I'm trying to train in my main discipline. The bear bow is my fun bow, which I normally shoot at home. The problem is that I don't have a safe spot to shoot at home. I do have the foam targets. When I do reviews, I do really close range shooting, but I don't really have a space where I can shoot properly. And again, because I'm learning with bear bow, I don't have the sight picture I need. So I want a better place to shoot bear bow. So the place is the club. So, but the club is where I train my Olympic recurve. So if I bring my bear bow, my coach will kind of kick my ass because I'm wasting my time shooting bear bow when I should be practicing my competitive format. So I don't shoot as much. It's just a fun thing. I would like to spend a bit of time to really work on my anchoring and back tension with bare bow, because flipping between bare bow and Olympic recurve is very difficult because you lose the clicker. That's the one thing which gets you. Pacific Hunter again. What is the right draw weight for a 14-year-old like you? £20, no more than that. Yeah, £20 is right for you. Most people will handle £20. That's not a problem. Yeah, the Hoyt XL 21-inch is a good short one. It's not a very popular riser because it's kind of a dead end for people. Like people go for the Hoyt riser and run the XL, but that it does come in 21-inch, so you can get that for your kid. Anderson Lung, you see more of a fan of Win and Win rather than Hoyt. Any chance you would have a session on model comparison between the two brands? Um, it's not so much that actually I am a big fan of Win and Win because I like the carbon design better, and I like the overall look and feel. I feel that to me the Hoyt bows are more like muscle cars, whereas the Win and Win bows are like sports cars. I like the sleek. Sorry, I like the sleekness of the Win and Win bows. Hoyt's great. I mean, performance-wise, there's no real difference. It just depends on what you like more. The funny thing is, even at top level, a lot of it is look and feel, just like your first bow. You can find people who shoot like the Hoyt GMX, which is quite an old Hoyt aluminium bow, and they'll outshoot people with the brand new Win and Wins because they're just better archers. But yeah, I don't plan to compare them directly because what can I say? They're both really good bows. Pacific Hunter again. If you're left-handed, can I shoot a right-handed bow? Yeah, you can shoot right-handed, but you can't shoot a right-handed bow left-handed. You can switch to your right hand and shoot a right-handed bow, but you can't switch sides. There are exceptions, but for the most part, you can't shoot a right-handed bow your opposite hand. The arrow's on the wrong side, the grip is the wrong shape, and there are other problems involved as well with your accessories. Looking through more things. Rob Smith. Win mental aspect and bow angle side, is shooting at 18 meters that much different than 70 meters? No, fundamentally no. The proportion of the ratio of the sight of the target in your sights may be a bit different. And apart from the elevation and the wind, your form should be the same. Now, people will say that 70 meters is a lot different. It shouldn't be different. You go through the same shot process. If you train at 10 meters, you should shoot the same at 18 meters, at 50 meters, at 70 meters. The process is the same. Now, what tends to happen is because you're shooting at a further target that is relatively smaller, then you often take more time to shoot, and that's what slows you down and breaks your process. Now, the pro archers can adapt to this, especially on a windy day, but for the most part, you should try to execute your shot process as closely as possible. The exception to long distance shooting or distance shooting is field or 3D, where you have different elevations. But for a flat level target, there shouldn't be that much difference. The reason why I say elevation is different is depending on whether the target is high or low than you, you don't aim directly at the target because the way the arrow falls differently if you're shooting upwards or downwards. But yeah, it should be the same thing. If you shoot the same flow at 18 meters and 70 meters, you should have consistent process, and whatever errors in your form that you have will present themselves on the target face. Crunchy Noodle 321. What percentage of my budget should I spend on a riser? Very good question. Probably half, I reckon. If you're gonna buy, I mean, if you lean towards a quality riser, then put at least half of your budget on the riser. So if you have a budget, say $1,000, spend like $500 on a good riser. The limbs might be around, let's say, $150 to $200. And your arrows might be about $100 for a full set, and the rest of the accessories you can squeeze in. So yeah, probably around like 40% to 50% should be on the riser. That's going to be like the majority of your investment and your longest term investment. Your limbs will be replaced all your other accessories will be replaced, but the riser will stay with you the longest, and unless you feel like you want to upgrade an entire bow. So yeah, it's the most important thing, but you're not going to upgrade it unless you want to buy a new bow. What shafts should I use for hunting zombies? What do archers use when hunting regularly? Carbon shafts are quite usual for hunters that can't comment on zombies. Casting chung, any bow tuning video possible? I don't plan to do bow tuning. Bow tuning's a very vague thing because, well, like a lot of people, when I say bow tuning, they mean bow setup. And mostly when you buy from the shop, it's already set up for you. As long as you have a center shot, the limb alignment is normally correct. But apart from that, there's not much tuning you have to do. I think people get very obsessed with bow tuning, but most of it isn't very important. Your form is far more important, and after your form settles, then you can diagnose with bare shaft tuning or paper tuning what your bow needs doing. Otherwise, you're just fidgeting with a bow with no particular goal in mind. So yeah, I'm gonna cover more specific things maybe, but bow tuning is kind of a myth in some ways, and some pro archers will say that after the basic setup, they never tune their bow. They still win championships. All right, let's see. Back to Pacific Hunter. Can you shoot 40 pounds? You can try. If you're 14, I'm sure you can. But 40 pounds, it's very heavy. No, I'm not kidding here, guys. 40 pounds is about 18 kilograms on the fingers. That's for a kid. That's a lot. Some kids will say, "Yeah, I'll shoot 40 pounds." Sure, you've been shooting all your life, and you live on a farm, and your dad teaches how to shoot. Sure, but very few people handle 40-pound well in like straight away. Even adults can't handle it straight away. It's something you need to work into. But I wouldn't recommend it. If you want to like do bow fishing or hunting, then you've got to work up to it. You can't start with it. Once you start archery, then you know what your limitations are. Okay, and that kind of brings us to the end. So we'll keep this nice and short. Again, this was an unannounced live stream. I might do one tomorrow, roughly at the same time. Not for archery. I want to do some casual. Like I'm gonna play some quizzes or games and just have a chat with you guys about non-archery things, because sometimes too much archery can burn you out. But I think that should cover the main topic. So for those who just joined us at the very end, so the main topic here was, of course, the memo from Archery Australia, and I think this is consistent with many shooting ranges and archery clubs that you should avoid using humanoid shapes and human targets. Obviously, it might be fun, especially in the Halloween theme, but you don't want to present the wrong image to the community. All it takes is one conservative mom looking at the range, seeing you shooting at a person, and they get really upset. They get distraught by what they see, and you get a phone call, a letter to the council, especially the council, and you're shut down. So just do be mindful of that. Again, as much as it would be fun, it's also against rules and policies. So just do be mindful of that. Apart from that, I think we'll end it there. So hopefully you found it interesting. Again, thank you for the questions. I'm quite happy to take questions when I can. And when I do plan these live streams, I will announce them. But otherwise, I'll just kind of pop up every now and then. If you're there, you're there. If not, I'm not worried about it too much. Most of these things are like simple one-off videos, so you can just watch the first 10 minutes for the explanation. Otherwise, you can stick around, have a chat, and interact with your sensei. Anyway, this is New Sensei. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.